having gone over the history of the bowling ball and the machines, now we're in the pro shop. We're going to go over how the bowling balls of today react differently on the lanes and how they're laid out, as opposed to just putting 3 holes in them and going from there. The rubber balls, where most people went conventional, the only thing you had to go by was the pin. All bowling balls have pins. That's where the core is poured, how the bowling ball is made. Goes through there, and then they put a pin in there to stop it, and that's how they can tell the top. Then they put in a radius of gyration machine to find out your RG point, and then they stamp them with a little symbol. Hammer uses little hammers. Storm uses a little vortex, tornado look. Different companies, Deviate, just stamps Deviate right on there. That's how you know where your center of gravity is. You also have symmetrical cores and asymmetrical cores. We have a core over there that just shows kind of what a core looks like. This is an asymmetrical core, which means that it's not the same all the way around. So if it was completely around, it would be symmetrical. This is asymmetrical. The asymmetrical then also has a mass bias, which is almost a secondary trajectory point when laying out the bowling ball. The rubber balls before the 1990s had just the pin. Some were big, some were small, depending on where the pin was in time. Don Russell, in his book Bowling Now, on page 50, goes over the pin placement. So this, with the pin being up above the fingers in the middle on the old rubber ball, just means it's a top heavy ball. It's going to roll the top over the end. With today's bowling ball, urethane, the pin being above the fingers, above the ring finger, with the center of gravity in the middle of the palm, this is going to be a nice gradual C hook, as opposed to if you had it off to the side with the pin, the fingers over on the side, then it's going to have a sharper turn with more hook. If you do a pin down, today, the pin being below the fingers, which would make the ball hook earlier. A lot of bowlers, you have to have a lot of revs, a lot of speed on your ball to be able to throw that. Most people have the semi-roll, which is a tweener, which goes in between. So your track, where it picks up the oil on the bowling ball, is going to be close to the fingers, close to the thumb. A lot of the tweeners cannot go pinned down because the thumb hole, they'll roll over your thumb hole, and you'll just hear clunk, 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 clunk all the way down until it turns. So when you lay them out, a lot of them, it's got a mass bias. You really don't have to worry about the center of gravity. This being way right for a right-handed bowler, this would be good. It's way left. It's not right. This would be good for a right-handed bowler. Do the angles is how you would lay it out. You have a wonderful little tool. It's got degrees. It's got your dimensions on there. You would just lay it out, going through your pin to your mass bias. Then putting a 0 on the pin, you would then figure out where, degrees wise, how far down the lane you would want to go before the ball would actually turn. And then you would have to figure out their path, which the positive access point of the bowler, and then you can go from there how far the pin to path is going to cause more or less hook. Whereas before, with your rubber balls, they basically put your pin in almost a clock formation, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, depending on how it would turn. Top heavy, bottom heavy, or thumb heavy, they would call it. Now, they used to have to use a hand drill. When it was wood, you would just use a hand drill out your sizes, figure out about how big your drill bit needed to be, crank it down, and that's how they would drill them. Then they came out with these wonderful Sidewinder machines in the 60s and 70s. This is a real old machine, but you use a masonry bit to get into the cores nowadays, because it's almost a concrete in there, whereas the rubber balls was almost cork, had a cork in there. So it was easier to just hand drill for that. The machines, I use this old one all the time. I've drilled probably close to 1,000 bowling balls with this thing. It still works, it's still good. Can't get the fine points as you can with a lot of the pro shops. The newer pro shops, you have an actual drill press. It's a lot easier to get the angles, and it works. It's fun. There's many more fun and exciting things and facts about bowling, and that is why I bowl.